monster drops down and terrorizes them. But then you look at him and he's literally so cute. Nicole Kidman it was nominated for the Oscars. I had to watch it. Did I mention it's funny? Did I mention that Dylan O'Brien is very hot in it? Hey y'all, welcome to a new video. Today I would like to talk about everything that I watched in the month of January. But first and foremost, I really want to thank you for 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for helping me reach this milestone. I didn't want to say anything for a couple of weeks just in case it wasn't true or in case a bunch of you decided to unsubscribe within a couple of weeks, but I am so grateful to see that number reach the 4 digits. I can't explain to you how much that means to me. I reached it in just under a year, which is also crazy, so thank you so much to anyone who's ever shared my videos. Thank you so much if you are someone who has clicked on more than one video, if you keep coming back for more. I love and appreciate your support so much. If you ever want to connect more with me on more than just this platform, my social media profiles are always linked in the description below, so feel free to follow me, connect with me. I have my Instagram, Letterboxd, and Goodreads linked down below. All right, without further ado, let's get into how many movies and what movies I watched in January of this year. I had 34 films watched. Within that, there were 5 theater watches and 11 rewatches. Today, we are going to go in order of 5 stars to half stars. So the first 5-star movie and the only 5-star movie that I watched last month was a rewatch of Challengers from 2024, directed by Luca Guadagnino. I actually watched this the night before leaving for Cancun for a week, which was really fun. It's just such a high-stakes movie. It gets your blood pumping, it gets you excited. I was way too excited to go to sleep that night, slept maybe 2.5 hours before our flight. It set the mood, okay? I had a good time in Cancun. And if you haven't seen Challengers yet, it was my favorite movie of 2024, so that tells you all you need to know about me, okay? Okay, 4.5 stars. The first 4.5 star movie I watched was The Menu from 2022. This is directed by Mark Mylod. I never think about this movie. I never have an inclination to rewatch this movie, and yet it is actually such a good movie. I'm so glad that it was on one of the 3 HBO channels at our resort in Cancun. This is the story of a well-renowned chef who has a lot to prove to the people who eat his food. Anya Taylor-Joy is in it, and it's honestly one of my least favorite performances by her. I think from times she can be a really good actress, and sometimes it falls really flat for me, unfortunately. Nicholas Hoult does amazing in this movie. Ralph Fiennes is amazing in this movie. Honestly, all of the characters are really good and really dynamic and fun to watch, and it's just a funny movie overall. Next, I watched Godzilla from 1954. This is directed by Ishiro Honda. It's really crazy. This movie is a beautiful metaphor for the atomic bombs that were dropped on and destroyed lives in Japan. You really see the horror and sadness in people's faces and eyes as this unexpected monster drops down and terrorizes them. But then you look at him and he's literally so cute. Like, he's adorable in this movie, okay? Godzilla is one of my favorite monsters of all time. Next 4.5 star I watched was Talk to Me from 2022. This is directed by Michael Philippou and Danny Philippou. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This was a theater rewatch. It was actually an IMAX theater rewatch. Okay, 2022 was a god year for horror films, and this one is easy top 5 of that list. This is the story of a bunch of teenage kids in Australia who come in contact with a hand that helps them or makes them see dead people on the other side. And the way that this movie flows, you guys, it is so good. It's so scary. Like, the first time I saw this, I was shaking in my seat. I was holding on to my boyfriend. Like, I never do that in horror movies, and I had to for this one because I was so terrified. Next 4.5 star I watched was Godzilla -1. This is from 2023. This is directed by Takashi Yamazaki. I watched this in black and white, okay? It's on Netflix right now. You can watch the OG, the color version, or you can watch it in black and white. This is my second favorite Godzilla film. Oh my gosh, like, the story in this is beautiful. Watching it in black and white, I am obsessed with how Godzilla looks in this movie. He's so scary. His eyes, oh my god. They really did so good with this movie, okay? They won for, oh, I can't remember. They won an Oscar last year, maybe for like visual effects or something like that, and they deserved it. Like, that movie deserves awards. It is actually so well done. Okay, the final 4.5 star movie that I watched was Twinless. This is from 2025. It is directed by James Sweeney. It's actually written, directed, and starring starring James Sweeney, and his co-star is the lovely Dylan O'Brien. So I got to attend Sundance Online this year. This was my second favorite film from Sundance. Sundance Online lasted from January 28th until February 3rd, I believe. So half of the movies that I watched at Sundance will be in this February's wrap-up, that which you will see in March. But out of the Sundance movies that I watched in January, you could say that this one was the best, because the best one that I watched was watched in February. Anyway, I have a whole video on the movies that I watched at Sundance. I will link that down below so you can watch like my in-time thoughts, in-depth thoughts. This movie, however, is about a twin who dies, and he joins a twin support group for other twins who have lost their twin, and he befriends a man who's lost his twin. And I literally can't tell you more than this because I will spoil the movie for you. I want you to go in as blind as I did. Like, I would love for you to avoid trailers for this movie going forward, because I know that the trailer is going to spoil it for you. Like, there's no way that they can't spoil it for you to keep it interesting and get people in the seats, you know what I mean? But this movie is so good. It's funny. It's directed so well. I mean, James Sweeney, his eye is amazing. Like, there's no moment on any part of the screen that is boring even a little bit, okay? Every aspect of this movie is 10 out of 10, I would say. Did I mention it's funny? Did I mention that Dylan O'Brien is very hot in it? All right, getting into the 4 stars. The first 4-star movie that I watched was The Hard Way. This is from 1943, directed by Vincent Sherman. This was actually my first movie of 2025. I love old school movies. I love any movie made before 1950. Like, automatic, I will have so much fun watching any movie made before 1950. And I try to make it a point to start the year with a movie, like an old school movie that I know I'm gonna like, with like an actor or a director that I have a lot of fun with. And this one, I decided to hone in on an Ida Lupino movie, and that's what I chose for this one. This one stars Ida Lupino. She is considered a pioneer for women in filmmaking. She's a really great director. However, this was one of her acting movies. This is about a woman who pushes her very beautiful and very talented younger sister into the business of show business to help their family pull themselves out of poverty. I really love a story of someone who sacrifices everything just for the possibility of something. It's a sad movie, okay? The next 4-star movie I watched was Wallace and Gromit: A Vengeance Most Foul. This is from 2024, directed by Merlin Crossingham, and of course, Nick Park. Love you, Nick Park. Love you so much, bro. I'm a Gromit lover till I die, okay? Wallace is such a buffoon, but I love him as well. So the penguin from The Wrong Trousers, which is the best Wallace and Gromit film, he's back for a vengeance, okay? And you just have to watch this one. If you're a fan of Wallace and Gromit at all, you can't miss this one at all. Ooh, next 4-star was Alice Darling. This is from 2022 by Mary Nye. I have been dying to watch this movie. I was so sad when I missed it in theaters. It had like a 3-day theater run at my local theater, and I was really upset when I missed it, and it finally came on streaming. This is about a woman who is in an abusive relationship with her boyfriend, and she has been asked to stay the week, like kind of like a girls' week, with her best friends at like this remote lake house cabin type thing. She's clearly not well, and she starts to unravel on the trip due to her abusive boyfriend, and the way that the friends come together for her is really great. I really love this. It stars Anna Kendrick, and I've heard her talk about how she was in a really emotionally abusive relationship for years, and how that experience helped her with this character in this film. Really true vulnerability on her part. She recently had her directorial debut last year with Woman of the Hour, and she's just like a white woman I love. Like, I love to see anything that she's in. I love her direction. I love her production. Anything she's ever had a hand in, I will love to watch. And that's coming from a girl who's never seen Pitch Perfect, okay? Next 4-star I watched was Dead Calm. This is from 1989, directed by Philip Noyce. So I did a video last month called Watch a Criterion Collection with me. Nicole Kidman did. You want out? You want to go out? Yeah. She cries to come in, she cries to leave. Okay, anyway, I did a video last month called Watch a Criterion Collection with me, Nicole Kidman edition, and I watched the Nicole Kidman movies that were brought to the Criterion channel, and this was the first one on the list. I went in chronological order, so this was the oldest Nicole Kidman movie on that list. I'll link that video down below as well. This was a great film to start with, okay? It's extremely thrilling. She was 19 in this film, which is insane. It's about a man and a woman who have lost their son, and they decide to go out on their boat for the week. They want to like de-stress and get away from life and just like deal with the grief that they have of losing their child, right? Well, there is another man who comes up on them on like a rowboat, and he's like, my ship is sinking, like everyone on my ship is dead. He has all these old passports of people. He's just very sus, and while he's sleeping, sleeping. They decide to lock him in a room while the husband goes to the ship that he just came from to try to figure out what happened, where are all these dead people, like what do you mean your ship is sinking, you know? And while he does that, the man kind of gets himself out of the room that he's been locked in and commandeers their boat, and she's kind of been kidnapped in a way. She has to get away from him. She has to outsmart him. I had a great time with this movie. Extremely thrilling to the last second. To the last second, this movie is crazy. Next 4-star movie I watched was another Nicole Kidman film called To Die For. This is from 1995, directed by Gus Van Sant. I think that's how you pronounce it. So this is an adaptation of this true crime story about a woman who entered into a relationship with a teenager to seduce him and convince him to kill her husband, who she doesn't like anymore. This is actually such an insane movie and an insane story. It's done kind of like mockumentary style, which I really enjoy in movies. Early acting careers in this movie for Joaquin Phoenix and Casey Affleck. It was Casey Affleck's first like debut feature as well. Next 4-star I watched was another Nicole Kidman film. Yes, she makes good movies, okay? The next one was The Portrait of a Lady from 1996, directed by Jane Campion. I love Jane Campion, okay? Her ability to create these extremely feminine, thrilling, just like relatable movies to me, like she will always be an A+ director and an auto buy director for me. So this is an adaptation of a novel from the same name, which I need to read. It's about a woman who is a free spirit, okay? Like she wants to live her own life, she wants her freedom, she gets marriage proposals left and right, but she says no to all of them because why would she give up her freedom? She gets roped up into a plot starring John Malkovich that plays out magnificently. He is terrifying in this movie. I will never see him the same again. Jane Campion is just such a master at plot. She's so good at telling a story. She's really good at surprising the viewer. Okay, I love her movies, and this was 4 stars. I loved it a lot. The next 4-star movie that I watched was another Nicole Kidman movie called, maybe you've heard of it, called Eyes Wide Shut, from 1999, directed by Stanley Kubrick. I really don't want to talk about this. Okay, technically, it's a wonderfully made movie. My personal opinion is that it's overrated. Hate me if you want. I'm not a fan of Stanley Kubrick. I'm not a fan of Eyes Wide Shut. It looks beautiful. Like I said, technically, production-wise, it's a great movie. Story-wise, I could have gone my whole life without ever watching it and I would have been fine. I'm also a firm believer that this movie is such a good movie. Like, people love it and it's so well renowned and it's like a piece of pop culture because I think it was shocking for its time. I mean, it's about a dangerous sex club in the underbelly of New York. Like, how many movies were made about that by 1999? I can't say many, maybe a few independent films, but as for like wide release Stanley Kubrick, like a big director name making a movie like this, I think that's kind of why people really like it and people really know it so well, is because it was just so shocking for its time. Okay, enough about Nicole Kidman. The next 4-star movie I watched was Maria. This is from 2024, directed by Pablo Larraín. This should have been nominated for Best Production Design, okay? His attention to detail, I love it. This is about the final days of opera singer Maria Callas. It's a beautiful film. Angelina Jolie is gorgeous as always. She's my ultimate girl crush. I think that she does amazing in this movie. The side characters are really good in this movie. That's one thing about Pablo Larraín I really like, is his side characters are very fleshed out. They're always very important to his stories. This is like the final in the trilogy about 3 women. I don't know what the point of the trilogy exactly is, but we had his story on Jackie starring Natalie Portman, his story on Diana starring Kristen Stewart, it's called Spencer, and then we have Maria starring Angelina Jolie. I wish he would make more of these movies. I really, really want him to make more of these movies. Okay, getting back into Nicole Kidman, the next 4-star movie I watched was The Stepford Wives from 2024, directed by Frank Oz. I love Frank Oz. He makes some of the funniest movies, okay? He is a comedy director. I don't love the ending of this movie, but I think it has some of the funniest dialogue I've seen in a long time. Stepford Wives, it's the story of men who take their women to live in the suburb of Stepford, and slowly these women are like being turned into robots to be servants for their man. Okay, basically that's like the point of the story, is control and how far do you go for control. And like I said, the ending of this movie isn't great. It's very redundant, but I think it's very witty and extremely hilarious. The dialogue is so good. Okay, the final 4-star movie I watched was The Virgin of the Quarry Lake from 2025. This is directed by Laura Casaby. This was another Sundance film. It was adapted from a story by my favorite Argentine horror writer, Mariana Enriquez. She wrote Our Share of Night. If you ever want a good horror recommendation from me, horror book recommendation from me, Our Share of Night is an amazing book. Part coming of age, part horrors of being a teenage girl, part how far will you go when your man has been stolen right under your nose. When this movie has a release, okay, when it is available on any streaming platform, I highly recommend that you watch it. I really like this movie. All right, we are getting into the 3.5 stars. The first 3.5 star movie I watched last month was Abigail. This is from 2024, directed by Matt Benatelli-Oplin and Tyler Gillette. I have the same problems that I had the first time that I watched this movie. I dislike the ending, and I wish that the titular character was in the movie more. Once we get into like these other vampires in the movie, I don't care. Like, I wanted Abigail to just wreak havoc for an hour and a half. I really did. She's a favorite horror character of mine now. I mean, she's a I almost said ballerina. She's a vampire ballerina, like a little girl vampire ballerina. That's so sick. The dialogue is hilarious. I love the cast of characters. It's a fun family movie, I will say. Next, I watched Wolfman from 2025. This is directed by Leah Whannell. This was the first movie I watched of this year, made in 2025, the first 2025 movie of the year. This is about a family who go to visit their father's childhood home after his father's body has finally shown up, but the woods that he grew up in are full of sinister and familiar characters. I think this movie has a lot of positives. The prosthetics are very good. The horror is very like dashed in there instead of being gimmicky or jump scary, and the whole movie happens in a single night, which I really like. Okay, my biggest problem in this movie, I'll be honest, was Julia Garner. I don't know if it was the way that she chose to play this character in this movie or the way that the director wanted her to play this character in this movie, but I'm really tired of watching horror movies where the female characters have no expression, have no horror, have no fear to their eyes. They're very strong and they just have like literally no expression on their face when really terrifying and scary things are happening to them or to their family, their loved ones, anyone else around them. I don't know, it's just not cutting it for me anymore. It's not realistic, it's not relatable, and I really wish that they would bring back female rage in horror films. The next 3.5 star movie I watched was I watched Wicked from 2024, directed by John Chu. Cynthia, immaculate, okay? Just acting, singing, she's amazing. I could watch her any day, every day, in every movie. I love musicals, okay? I am a theater girly. I love musicals. However, there were a lot of musical numbers in this one that they could have skipped. I think they wasted their time on. I am still just a little salty that they decided to split this movie into 2 movies. Like, I hate gimmicks like that. Stretching out movie 1 just to make 2 movies, just like, irritates me. It's fine. All right, next up for 3.5 stars, I watched The Hours. This is from 2022, directed by Stephen Daldry. This stars the trifecta of Meryl Streep, Julianne Moore, and Nicole Kidman. All 3 women are living in different decades, but are connected in a couple of heartwarming and eye-rolling ways. Up next, I believe this is the second to last Nicole Kidman film, I watched Birth from 2024, directed by Jonathan Glazer. This is about a woman whose husband has died. A decade later, she has met a new man, she's engaged to a new man, she's living her new life and everything. Still very sad, of course, but moving on. But then a child of 10 years of age comes and disrupts her life, claiming that he is the reincarnate of her dead husband. Okay, amazing premise. I think this movie is really melancholic, really beautiful. I could see myself even giving it a higher score if I were to rewatch it. I think about it all the time and I really love the premise, like I said. Final 3.5 star movie I watched was Atropia. This is from 2025, directed by Haley Gates. This was my first Sundance Online film of the year. This is directed by the woman who had a very small role in Challengers. If you remember the scene where Patrick is on a date at the hotel with a girl and he talks to Zendaya for a moment and the girl's like on the date, like very confused that he's like left her for a moment to go talk to somebody else. That's Haley Gates. That's the woman who directed this movie. I love to see that. This is a satire on the Iraq War. I could see this being like a biggish film this year when it eventually comes to theaters. It's about a struggling actress played by Aaliyah Shawkat who works at a simulation military base in California that is created to prepare new members of the military for deployment in other countries. I didn't know that was a thing, but literally there are like fake military bases created to like simulate and prepare new military members for what they're gonna get into when they go overseas to another country. Like I said, it's satire. I had fun watching it. It's a little gross, a little goofy, but it was a good movie to start Sundance at. All right, getting into the 3 stars. The first 3-star movie I watched was The Sniper from 1952. This is directed by Edward Dmytryk. This one caught me by surprise, okay? It is about a man who hates and murders women. It's made in 1952, keep that in mind, okay? It addresses the misogyny behind and associated with hating and wanting to kill women. I thought it was really excellently done. Like I said, it caught me by surprise. Not my favorite movie to watch, definitely not a movie I'd probably ever rewatch, but in the moment I was like, wow, good conversation, good aspects. Next 3-star I watched was a theater watch of Presence from 2024. This is directed by Steven Soderbergh. This is about a family who buys a new house to start a new life, to get away from an old life. And there's a presence within the house that watches and infiltrates them. It's filmed really interestingly. The camera is the ghost in the house, so like it's following the family around, like so you're the ghost, the audience, the camera is the ghost, okay? Really interesting, pretty cool ending. I don't know if I'd ever watch it again. Next 3-star I watched was Elton John, Never Too Late. This is from 2024, directed by RJ Cutler and David Furnish. I love Elton John to death. All of his music slaps. This is a documentary basically about his whole life as he gears up and prepares for his final concert in North America. It was nominated for the Oscars. I had to watch it. And then the final 3-star movie I watched was Bunny Lover. This is from 2025 from Katarina Zu. This is another Sundance film. It's actually written, directed, and starring Katarina Zu. Okay, there were a lot of movies from Sundance this year that had those triple threats. I loved it. Rachel Sennett co-stars. This is about a girl who has a fruitful life online and the dissonance that can be created between the companionship and validation that you can have with people online versus people in your real life, which I think is really interesting. Really cool premise. I think it had a lot of intelligent things to say, and you can tell that this project was really personal for the creator herself. Okay, getting into the 2.5 stars. I only had one 2.5-star movie. It was Sonic the Hedgehog 3. No hate to Sonic the Hedgehog at all. I've just never seen a Sonic the Hedgehog movie and decided to go in for this one because it stars Keanu Reeves. Also, Jim Carrey plays 2 characters and Spinks himself in the movie, which was really comical. All right, I also had one 2-star movie. It was Margot at the Wedding from 2007, directed by Noah Baumbach. This movie, it solidified something that I've always known deep down. I don't like Noah Baumbach. I think that his movies are surrounded with really good actors that make his movies somewhat good, but I do not like or appreciate his writing or directing style or like just the content of what he writes and directs, I would say. This movie was no different and probably the worst of his that I've seen, okay? It stars a sister, Nicole Kidman, who is going to visit an estranged sister played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, who is getting married to a man played by Jack Black. They both discover things about each other and their children because they can't stop talking smack about each other to everyone around them. There literally was nothing redeeming in this movie. I kind of wish I'd given it a lower rating, to be honest. Okay, and then the final 2 movies I watched last month, these are the 1.5-star movies, the worst movies I watched last month, we'll say. So first we have The Paperboy from 2012, directed by Lee Daniels. This story, oh my god, for one thing, it is edited in such an insane way. It's edited in a way that shows you what's happening, and then the dialogue will tell you later what happened or explain it to you later. There's so many characters in this movie as well. Basically, this really bad guy is set up in Florida to receive the death penalty for a crime that he 100% committed. A very bad crime, very disgusting crime. There's an attorney who comes up, there's a reporter who comes up. They are against the death penalty and they want to try to get him off the death penalty. Also his girlfriend from, I believe it was Georgia. It was either Georgia or Alabama, and that's who Nicole Kidman plays. They all come down to see this really bad guy. He's played by John Cusack. One of the scariest performances I've ever seen by John Cusack. Oh my god. What should be a really trashy, hillbilly, fun movie ends up being a really terrifying redneck horror movie. And it's so hard because there are so many aspects of this that I like. I like the editing, okay? I hardly ever see a movie that is edited so choppy, showing you what's going on, making you piece it together, and then maybe sometimes the dialogue will explain it down the line of what's happening. I think the story's crazy. Every character has like a big part in the story as well. But just overall, like, it's a terrifying movie. It's hard to watch, I'll just say that. All right, and then the last movie that I want to talk about that I watched last month, the last 1.5-star movie I watched was Predators from 2025, directed by David Ossett. This was a documentary from Sundance, and it was low-key my most anticipated movie of Sundance. I'm really disappointed in it. This is a documentary centered around Chris Hansen in the show To Catch a Predator. The director of this documentary felt like Chris Hansen starts out every episode of To Catch a Predator with the question of why? Why do you do this? But then never accurately answers that question for the audience. Instead, it created entertainment for the viewers at home to see these predators get embarrassed and then get pummeled to the ground by the police. And listen, I see the point that the director was trying to make. On one hand, reality TV and the way that we can enjoy watching people's downfalls, the worst day of their life in real time, can be problematic. On the other hand, these are men who need serious help, who end up being exploited for TV. On my hands, however, when it comes to adults, okay, men and women who want to be with children, okay, who want to be with people who cannot consent, there's no empathy in my heart for them. And at the end of the documentary, he never even answers his own question of why do you do this? That was one of the questions from the audience of, well, how can we help these people? What are the steps can be taken? Like, what are the rehabilitation aspects that can be had for these people who want to be with children? And he's like, I don't know. I never could figure it out. Okay, so he never even answered his own question. There's even a moment in the documentary, and this is what I'm talking about when I say I really don't have empathy for these people, because there is even a moment in the documentary where this man is getting arrested on the show and he's like, please, I can't go to jail, I can't go to jail. What kind of therapy do you have for me? My medical insurance, my health insurance covers therapy. Like, where can I go to get over this? My attraction to children. And it's like, you know that your health insurance covers this therapy. Like, it covers therapy. You could go to therapy. Instead, you decided to meet up with what you thought was an underage child. Like, you know what I mean? So my empathy is just lost on these people, unfortunately. And so this documentary did not hit for me. A lot of people found it to be really empathetic and empowering and a good take on how we view reality TV and watching people be embarrassed on TV, which I get that part of it, but I just, no. That's all I'm going to talk about it. Okay, so currently I'm in the middle of watching movies nominated for Oscars this year, and that includes shorts. I did watch 3 shorts last month. I'm not going to get into them. I'm not going to get into my ratings because I just don't know enough about shorts. I don't feel comfortable talking about them on this platform, I guess. Like, if you want to see like my in-time thoughts or whatever, you can follow me on Letterboxd for them. But I will mention I watched I Am Ready, Warden, I watched Alien, and I watched I Am Not a Robot. So those were 3 shorts that I watched last month. All right, you guys, that is everything that I watched in the month of January. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate your support. Thank you again so much for 1,000 subscribers. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying those words right now. Okay. If you are a return viewer to this channel, thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you are new to this channel, consider subscribing so you don't miss any film, movie, book content, hauls that I do. I have a bunch planned for the rest of the year that I'm excited to show to you. If you like this video, give it a like, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!